Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Fatback 4 with the LFC Daytrippers for this Sunday evening. I'm Gav, Kev is with me, Emmett is with me, and Keith are with me. Keith is with me. Sorry about that, Keith. Do you
Sorry,
accept me
I forgive
apology?
you.
Okay.
Apology accepted.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Keith. It is Sunday night, and that means we're going to talk about Liverpool's latest game. The game coming up against Benfica on Tuesday. How good is Jurgen Klopp? How bad is BT coverage of the Premier League? The 5 subs rule, Salah Rumours, the weekend overall, and anything else we can think of. It usually ends in farce, where people are trying to get Keith to do some sort of rendition of some sort of song on a fucking tin whistle. First up, I must congratulate the Liverpool women who secured the title today with a 4-2 win away at Bristol City, which means they will play in the Women's Premier League next season. A really, really good achievement. I think they've done it with 2 or 3 games to spare. And now Chris Brack will turn back into Chris Brack because he's been a fucking nightmare for the last week. So, yeah, hopefully he's back and he's back to his normal self. There he is, Chris Brack, even all, don't you know, pump it up, the Reds are going up. He's clearly had a few drinks and he's absolutely delighted with himself. So a big well done to the Liverpool women. We've been covering them a bit this season. The interviews Chris has done have been really good. The shows that Chris has done have been really good as well. So a big congratulations to them, and I'm sure we'll step up our coverage of them next season with Chris doing even more stuff on them. The men's side though, as we call them now, had a 2-0 win against Watford, and me and Kev done a show yesterday for 35 minutes or so, covered everything expertly. I don't know why we're even here, but we covered it brilliantly. But Keith, I was talking to a few Liverpool fans yesterday, and a few of them felt that very split. A few of them felt didn't get out a second or third gear, nothing to worry about, and a few were kind of going, yeah, maybe, but there's 1 or 2 issues there that you look and go, is it not second or third gear, or is it just players making wrong decisions, lacking something at the moment? For me, I just think they're managing it very well, Keith. How are you feeling?
Yeah, just managing. Result is king now. Performance doesn't really matter. I mean, if you look back at the year we won the league, it switched from the year before where we were maybe a bit more swashbuckling to a more controlled defensive style where we did scutter over the line in certain games. And I just think that's the rhythm and routine we're in at the moment. I think it's a sign of not nerves, but a sign of just more concentration. Do you know what I mean? If you look at Man City's performances, they're the exact same. They're not great. Do you know what I mean? They're getting through their games by just getting wins on the board. It's all you can do at this stage. But although you would like better performances, I don't think they've been as bad. I think people are making them out to be worse. I think when you watch them back, we're not giving up many chances. We're going to talk about the Watford game and the Watford chances. There wasn't many of them. I argue on one of them that wasn't even a chance. And it's just another typical Liverpool performance. I mean, I think people are now looking at 2 of, in my opinion, the greatest Premier League teams of all time, despite longevity and despite nostalgia and everything else. There has been nothing to compare with these 2 juggernauts. And they're just winning games in a way that it's not a 10 out of 10 and people are looking to cause unnecessary panic. I thought it was a good win. It was a routine win against a team that were scrapping and are well organised. And let's be honest, Roy Hodgson is an excellent manager at a certain level. It wasn't Liverpool level, but he is a good coach to have for them scuttery teams down the bottom of the league. I mean, if I was Everton, I'd rather have Roy Hodgson managing me than Frank Lampard. Do you know what I mean? Because he sets his teams up well.
I'd
Sets
rather
them
have Roy
hard to break
Cropper
down.
fucking managing me than Frank Lampard, to be perfectly honest.
You could have let me have my coffee first.
But no, it is true. You know, Hodgson can set a team up to be hard to break down. They parked a lot of men behind the ball. That's fair enough. And they looked to get us on the break. I thought we managed it well. I thought, we didn't, maybe we're not our dominant best, but I think it's just more important to get the result at this stage than the performance. And I think we pick it up in the likes of games against Man City that we're going to see coming up and things like that. I think you will see an improved performance because I think it'll be a more open game and it'll be much more swashbuckling by both teams. So that's just, you take each game on its merits. A game, international break half-12 kick-off, they're always a nightmare. And anyway, do you know what I mean? So look, take the result, move on, just notch it off on the list of games to go. Do you know what I mean? First one down, done.
Yeah, listen, I don't think you can disagree with the vast majority of what you said there. Emmett, City are fairly similar to us. They're at Burnley yesterday. I think that they're fairly dominant in the game. They win the game 2-0. Very much like us, and well, we look deeper into their performances than we would City, and City will look deeper into theirs than they would us. I don't know what the is there a Man City version of this podcast? I'm not too sure, but they'd be looking at the Man City side of it rather than looking at the Liverpool side of it. What I would ask you though is, before we get into it, we talk about a couple of points, because as I said, me and Kev covered a lot yesterday, but are you confident enough that we are just managing games, we're managing players, and when needs be, i.e. Benfica on Tuesday night and Man City next Sunday, and then the same two teams again over the following week as well, that we're just able to click and go, yeah, we just step it up a level here. We'll just step it up a level. We'll go another level. Let's see how many levels we can go to, and we can reach whatever level we need to reach to win what will be much harder games.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with Keith. It was like they're scuttery teams. They turn games into scuttery games. I caught the first half on the radio yesterday, and then the second half on the telly. So, from the second half, the only kind of gripe I had was there seemed to be an awful lot of head tennis and balls hitting people's arses and flicking off their knees, and it just felt a little bit scrappy. And I know I was on the Telegram and I was saying, just get the ball down and play around. I think there was twice where Hendo just, without even looking, just hooked the ball on and it straight back to Watford, and it just felt a bit bitty and a bit scrappy. But like I said, those teams, I said the other night, I hate playing these teams this end of the season. Because they will kind of nearly drag you down to their level. But in terms of going up against the likes of a Benfica or of a Man City, we can turn her on, no hassle. I don't see any problem with us turning her on against, like, these teams are going to come out and play football against us. They're not going to put 10 men behind the ball. So they will be open. We will be able to kind of get into our rhythm a little bit better, get into our flow a little bit better. I just thought yesterday was a little bit scrappy. I don't think we were ever kind of at risk. I know they had a couple of chances, and I think I know the one that Keith's talking about that wasn't even a chance. But I was never worried about us only getting a point. I thought we did control it. I mean, we had something like 76, 77% possession or something, 23. I just wanted to get more goals. And I think I said that in the Telegram. Let's just get another goal. Let's get the second goal to kind of not necessarily to calm them down, but to calm me down at home. And also, obviously, goal difference can come into it towards the end of the season. I think somebody said City could go and thump Burnley 7-0. I didn't think they were ever going to thump them 7-0. But if they did, we're a point behind and level on goal difference. And I'm not sure how much of an importance people put on goal difference, but leagues have been won and lost on goal difference. So just get it down, get as many as we can, put them to the sword. But no, in terms of going forward, I don't have any issues. I think we'll be well capable.
I think the goal difference thing is interesting. I don't think either side are looking at it. I think they might look at it after next Sunday. Particularly Man City, if Liverpool go and win there on Sunday, they're going, right, we're 2 points behind. If they draw the game, we need to capitalise. We need to capitalise in a big way here. Because if you're 6-7 goals up, and I know Man City can go and beat anyone 6 or 7, Liverpool could do the same. But if you're 6 or 7 goals up with 5 games to go and you're 4 points clear, the other team are literally looking going, it's 5 points. You know what I mean? Because both teams are so good. I don't think either of them are looking at it yet. I think they need more clarification, and the clarification will come next Sunday, because Liverpool could be 4 behind. They could be 2 ahead. They could remain 1 behind. And then you're looking going, one slip somewhere, and all of a sudden you can find yourself tied, and it'll be interesting to see, because, the goal difference, Liverpool's record this season is ridiculous. And so, like, even Man City looking at going, our record is ridiculous, and looking at Liverpool going, how are they fucking, whatever it is at the moment ahead of us are. And like Keith said, it's just, the longevity argument will be thrown at these two sides, but I think you're looking now and you're saying to yourself, possibly 18, 19, 19-20, 20-21, 21-22, even including Liverpool's bad season, which I would call it last year, where they didn't reach their expectation, I think there is probably an argument that they're definitely in the conversation now about the best Premier League side you've seen. And I will include them there in, I think the Chelsea team under Ancelotti was fucking ridiculous. And I think the Mourinho side was really, really good. Arsenal's 2002 side were brilliant. The Invincibles were 2004, I think, and they drew 12 games. Fuck that.
Doesn't count.
You know, some of the United sides 99, ridiculous. But I think they're definitely in the conversation. It might be one to have. We might try to get Man City, Man United, Arsenal fan on one night and let Keith loosen them and see what happens. But overall, you know, we did control it. Me and Kev were talking about this yesterday. We could have went a level if we wanted to. Both sides seemed to take the 2-0 or the 1-0. It looked like they were taking at times. Kev, you've had a chance to look it back. Yeah. You've had a chance to, digest it, because I literally was on you like a light yesterday, 10 minutes after the end of the game. So I love going back and watching the game again or extended highlights just to see, did I miss something or seen something wrong? But I watched it back, Kevin. When I watched it back, I know we're winning the game. But bar one or two little things, there was nothing there from Watford. And that was Liverpool, like people have said, playing in second or third gear.
Yeah, I think it was a consummate professional performance yesterday. Keith was bang on. It was the routine, get the points, move on, get freshness back into the legs, get people acquainted back into the system again, and move on. It is like chalking them off now. It's almost like someone's put a chalkboard up in the dressing room and said, right, as we come back in, we mark them off. And that's how they have to look at these games now. And yesterday was the start of it. I said I think it was Thursday night, we have to start right. Because it could have gone all tits up yesterday if we didn't start right. And we did. Getting the 3 points is the most important thing in the lot. Now the run has started. And then it's going to be a case of take each game as it comes. And I think there's going to be 3 or 4 changes for most of these games as they come along. This squad is going to get used. And they're all going to have to chip in and contribute. And what you were saying as well is right. There was a couple of things in the game. You're thinking the decision-making and the countering from our corners. We did everything right to get into their half as fast as humanly possible. But the next pass was always off. They got to clean that up. Now, 2 years ago, when it was the same front three playing week in, week out all the time, they knew where they were running. They knew where they had to be and when they had to be there. And it was almost telepathic. Jota and Diaz coming into the equation, they have to work at that. When they're able to finally have some time to work on it on the training ground, they have to get together and work on how they're going to counter from corners, because it was a real strength of ours for a long time. The most dangerous that we were was when we were facing a corner. I always half expect us to go and counter and do something. And I'd love to see a couple of goals off the back of something like that, because they'll scare the shit out of sides. Because they won't commit anywhere near as many into the box if they think they're going to get countered on the other side of it. But they're only nitpicking stuff. It's only little things. There's no drama in yesterday's performance. It was literally routine, get the job done, and move on. Come out of it fresh. Come out of it without any injuries, no suspensions, no silly bookings. Just get the job done. Light up a bit.
Yeah, listen, I fully agree, and I'm real one where I'm a real person where I go, yeah, chalk them off. Like literally, we win that game yesterday. I'm not bothered by City. I think we're doing the podcast. I think City got 1-0 up actually. They were about 5 or 6 minutes into their game because we ran over a little bit over time. But I'm literally going, I've forgotten about Watford. That's gone. Give me, where's the next one? And it's like a drug, like get me to Tuesday night, get me to next Sunday, get me to the following Wednesday, get me to the next, whatever it might be, just keep going. And chalking them off, I think, is a great analogy in the case of, yeah, they'll look back at the performance and yeah, they'll pick at different things, but other than that, they're going, it's 3 points. It's all that matters. If we'd have played brilliant football there yesterday and we're 1-0 up and we are absolutely battering them and they get a goal, we wouldn't be sitting here going, oh, it was a brilliant performance. We wouldn't, we'd be just disgusted that we drew 1-1. So chalking them off, yeah, great analogy, and I'm all on board. Keith, you mentioned at the very start about you wanted to argue that one of them wasn't even a chance. Bring me through what you felt Watford chances they had, and was it something that Liverpool brought on themselves, or was it a good play by Watford? Because I want to tie this in a little bit with the BT coverage, because I'm getting I do my best to mute these fuckers, right? BT and Sky. Listen, neither of them are going to come and ask to sponsor this show or ask us on the show, so it doesn't even fucking matter, right? And if they do ask us, we tell them, no, we're busy. We're on
washing my hair.
We're on the gargle somewhere, me and Keith. Keith's off the Guinness, but he'll be on it that day. But the narrative, Keith, is like, it's not about fully controlling games. Like, the narrative yesterday wasn't Liverpool are controlling this and it's no issue. It's like, oh, if Watford do this and if Watford do that. Am I being a bit harsh, Keith, where I go, they're just trying to keep an interest in a game that they know is being completely dominated? Or is it just that they want something to happen? Because I watch City games and I don't see that narrative with City. It's all about, look, how they control, how they move, and how they're the fucking oracle when it comes to football. Is that just me being a Liverpool fan and going, listen, I hear more on Liverpool? What do you make of that? Because I want to tie it in with that, with the chances that you don't even think were chances, like you were not having a part of it.
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you. I think the narrative is different around Liverpool all the time. I watched Spurs and Newcastle today, and the absolute love fest for Harry Kane on that. No, I'm not a Harry Kane fan. I've said that a million times before. I don't like Harry Kane. He's an excellent footballer. Don't get me wrong. The love fest for Harry Kane today was just stomach turning. We are right. Liverpool are doing things, and it always seems to be. I say it about cup games all the time when, the lower league teams are there, the refs will give them the decisions, the commentators will give them the extra little bit, but it seems to be every game with Liverpool as well. I mean, Watford do have a good chance in the first half when Kuka goes through, Alisson saves, goes up the other end, nearly worse scored, and that's great. The issue we have is with the João Pedro second half one that he should score and he hits it wide. It's going to get pulled back for offside. People are like, he's on, it's offside. There's VAR will come in on that and that will be offside. Now, it's not given, so technically it is a chance on goal. But it's mad like that. It's barely mentioned. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's a great chance on goal. Everything, when you look at Liverpool, we do not give up many chances.
Would we be better off some of these chances going in the net?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And then they have to check offside and go, that's offside from 3 passes ago. They haven't given up a chance, really.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Like, we're giving up chances, and you can look back at it, and the very few that we do give up, half of them are not even genuine. Do you know what I mean? And it's because Liverpool are so good at. Now, I didn't think our high line was excellent yesterday, but it was offside. It goes through, they nearly score, and it's just not getting called up. Look, I think it's very frustrating. I think BT's commentary. I don't watch much BT, I have to say. I'd usually rather listen to the radio music and watch the match than listen to a lot of these commentators, but I did listen to BT yesterday and it was absolute shy. I just think it's Steve McManaman, I think, was on commentary, wasn't he? I don't know who the main fella was. It was just terrible. At one stage,
Elton John, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it could have been. At one stage, Joe Matip went on a mazy run as he does.
Aiden claims that the Joe Pedro chance was onside.
Well, I'm telling you it wasn't. So, there we go. We'll agree to disagree on that. Just from the angles I've seen, I haven't seen, obviously, the VAR lines being drawn. From the stills I've seen of that, if they draw lines, it's going to be called offside. That's just my opinion. I'm only joking with you, Aiden. If you think it's onside, so be it. Do you know what I mean? But I think it'd be pulled up for offside. So I'm not giving them that. But even still, he didn't score because we have a keeper in goal that just puts the fear of God into these. It's a great thing to have Alisson in goal. It's brilliant. Do you know what I mean? But Matip goes on a mazy run, flicks the ball up, hits the hand of their player. It doesn't get called. And Steve McManaman is like, no, it's definitely there's no free kick because I think Matip takes too much out of that on the run. And you're like,
well, he's not. What do you mean? What was it? Was it 3-touch?
Yeah, so what? The handball doesn't count because Matip took an extra touch bringing it out of it. It's silly. It's fucking silly what they're saying. Do you know what I mean? And it's just, see Cotter said it there. I could see it was offside from the Brentford game. So there you go. If that doesn't prove, you know, how offside it was, I don't know what will. But look, I just think it's a narrative that's out there with Liverpool now. It's so many chances. You know, we can agree or disagree on that, Joe Pedro. I think it'd be offside. People think it's onside, but I think it was clear.
I thought the Cuckoo one was offside as well.
There you go. Like, it's so fine, isn't it, Kev? It's like a cigarette paper between these decisions, and that's the risk versus reward that Liverpool are playing by playing the high line. That people say professional footballers, ex-pros, cannot get their head around the risk v reward of playing the high line when it's playing for all to see. You know,
they can't because they couldn't do it.
That's
the thing. They couldn't do it.
Is it a case of if Liverpool were to concede one of these chances and it was onside, that they would then feel that they're justified in talking about this high line for the last 8 months?
True.
Is it one of the, like, look?
Didn't we concede one against Brighton from exactly that? Brighton made, I think, Trossard made a run from deep and he broke the line and got in and scored. I'm sure it was the Brighton game that we conceded a goal from the high line or from a disorganized line. It was a second phase or something like that. But that's almost what it would take. You know, the second phase, a deep runner, you have to be really accurate to break it. But if you break it, you're in. You know, it is dangerous. You know, they are backing themselves an awful lot. You know, but they're also turning around and saying, well, Alisson is going to be positioned really well. And your ball has to be perfect. We don't think you can do it. And it's the same with the commentators and the pundits, the defenders, the Carragers, the John Terry's when he's on, the Rio Ferdinands. The reason they criticize it is because they couldn't do it. If they were asked to do that high line, they wouldn't be able to do it. They know how to defend the way they defended in the 90s and the 90s. Banks of four, 2 banks of 4, and 1-on-1 strikers. You know, and that's what they know. That's what they grew up with. That's what they trained with. That's what the likes of Rafa played, and that's what they won with. But now football has evolved. And for the life of me, I watched the games today. For the life of me, I don't understand why teams in the bottom half aren't pressing. Why are sides in the bottom half, the strikers in the bottom half, why are they letting keepers decide when they want to kick the ball out? Instead of pressing the keeper and making them kick the ball early, the strikers who might not be ready. Simple things. We do it all the time. You'll see Henderson running and charging at a goalkeeper. He knows he's not going to get the ball, but he's going to make the keeper play the ball when he doesn't want to play it. Just so that he might fluff his kick and give Joe Matip or Virgil van Dijk a better chance of winning it. It's little things like that I can't understand for the life of me why coaches aren't doing that throughout the league. They've watched us do it for years.
Yeah,
but
the thing is, Kev, when you come across the likes of Watford and stuff, like they're looking at their fixtures between now and the end of the season, and I think they play Man City actually in a couple of games' time. They're at home to Man City in a couple of games' time. They actually have a decent run, Watford, in the next 3 or 4. I was looking at it today, but when they come up against Liverpool and Man City, they're not expecting anything from it, Kev. So they actually do fall into their shell and go, listen, damage limitation, leave it at that, and away we go. And that's just the way they are, you know, the sort of way. And I get it. Why don't teams press? And that's probably you could throw that at certain teams, maybe from say 9th, 10th up to probably 14th, in around that area where you go be a bit more brave. But the rest of them, Kev, when it comes to it, they're literally marking off these games and going, we're getting nothing from that. We're literally getting nothing from it. We'll sit in our shell, we'll damage limitation, and next week we'll press when we're playing Crystal Palace or we're playing Everton or we're playing Southampton, wherever it might be. They've different. It's like when you look at it the opposite way around. Liverpool have a different approach to games against Watford than they would have Man City or against Burnley or Spurs. You know, there's different things they do in different games, but the present thing, that's how it leads to a boring game, Kev. That's how actually leads to the narrative on BT where they're going, there's fuck all to talk about here. Because they're not pressing. Liverpool aren't quite at it, so we're not getting a bombardment here. If they were getting a bombardment of 5 or 6 goals, they're happy. Because all Liverpool fans are watching and they're delighted. And they get all, yay, and then everyone goes home happy. You know, the sort of way. But with regard to just the BT stuff, it's not even BT, it's Sky. Like, I'm finding it very, very difficult to watch. You know, like you literally go across the other side and there's a guy there that's trying to run a football club and he's not even involved in it. And you know, he's trying to sort out the Labour Party and the British government, and he's literally telling you every week about what Manchester United should do, and he's meant to be impartial in some sort of way, and it's clearly not. So it's hard to watch that stuff, but my bit of advice would be to watch it somewhere else, and or turn on fucking, I don't know, a bit of VLO or something.
I'd often turn on the radio commentary and sync it to the TV.
Yeah, you could. Or a bit of ELO. Keith, we could put on a bit of the ELO.
Yeah. Love a bit of VLO, a bit of Jeff Lynne. Yeah, why not? Good idea.
Throw it on,
Good
watch the
thinking.
match.
Yeah.
Absolute.
Isn't that mad the way it's only ex-Liverpool player pundits that always try so hard to be unbiased that they're nearly biased towards the other team?
But I get that. But I hate the absolute bias as well. You know, if an ex-Liverpool player come on and was just completely biased towards Liverpool, I'm kind of saying to myself, great to hear and great player and all, but I'm kind of going, you're here to give us a balanced look at this game. Like, you know, it'd be like me going on and being the co-commentator and going, listen, they're fucking great. You know, the sort of way. I'm not adding anything to the occasion. I'm just sitting there telling you Liverpool are deadly. Do you know what I mean? And that's as lazy as somebody that's trying to be nearly anti-Liverpool or whatever, or anti-Manchester United or anti-Arsenal when they used to play for them. And the mix is just completely.
Yeah, Phil Thompson used to get lashed out.
I was just literally about to say the same person.
Who?
I used to cringe. Phil Thompson on Soccer Saturday was that too biased towards Liverpool.
But
he got lashed out all the time for it.
Yeah, but the mix there was great. The mix there was great because Matt Letizia used to be on the panel and he fucking despises Liverpool. Yeah. So the mix was actually good there. And then you had a few that knew Tomo was just Liverpool through and through and would throw stuff at him. And that mix is absolutely fine, but you can call it lazy when they're trying to be against Liverpool because they used to play for them, but I think it's as lazy when they're just over the top, you know, credit all the time.
Isn't it mad? It's a pity that you can't go into Dixon's or something now and just stand outside the shop with 20 other blokes and watch the match without having to listen to the commentary, isn't it? You know, like the old days, the electric shops that have the telly.
Or the little Sky unit in the shopping centres.
Just stand there and watch it. You don't have to listen to any of the shit.
Yeah, YNWA says in South Africa we're lucky enough to have Peter Drury in the gantry. Peter Drury's bleeding deadly. But he's deadly for all teams.
Yeah.
Like
he celebrates things with excitement.
Yeah, and we see more of Peter Drury when Liverpool based because of what Liverpool have done over the last couple of years. Listen, I'm sure Peter Drury has done absolutely brilliant stuff on Manchester United in the past, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, whoever. But he's absolutely excellent because he tells you what's going on in the game without anything behind it. Whereas the other fuckers, my Jesus, you know, Liverpool score and it's like you're at a wake for fuck's sake. Never mind the goals gone in. Just give me Emma, I'll come back to you. That's Klopp's 160th win in 250 Premier League games, and it's an astonishing record. It might be beaten by Pep, I think, when Pep gets to that, 250 game, it may be. But at the moment, I think he's the most wins Klopp, top flight wins in 250 games in his first 250. What it done for me yesterday, Emmett, though, as great as it was, I always think when these sort of things come out is I dread the fucking day this man leaves this football club, and that's all I can think of when all these records come out because that is astonishing.
Yeah, unbelievable. And I dread, I think, I'm not sure whether I shared a video the other day where the day Shankly retired, and obviously you've no social media at him back then, and there's a guy interviewing, I think it's actually from the Boot Room Boys documentary, I think that's on the next couple of days, but it's the people in the streets of Liverpool couldn't actually believe it. They were shocked, like almost in tears.
With them.
That's it. That'll happen again the day that the Klopp decides to pack it in, and I'll openly admit I'll probably cry a few tears myself because I don't think, look, people probably said that we'll never have another Shankly, we'll never have another Paisley or anything like that. I don't think you ever have another Klopp. I really, really don't. And you just want to be like, and all the other clubs are waiting. I wait till Klopp leaves and when you see what's going to happen, you'll be back to being whatever you were beforehand. I know there's a chance it'll happen. I just hope he stays as long as he possibly can. I do think that he'll if he leaves, he'll probably go off and do the travelling that he's promised that he'll go off and do. But I have a funny feeling that he's actually going to stick around the club maybe in a similar way that Kenny has. I think just from listening to him talk about, and people say, he was like that with Dortmund as well. I think he's slightly different with our club and and the city. I was going to say our city, Jesus, and Liverpool as a city and the people of Liverpool. I just think it hits different with him to Dortmund, and I think that he'll be connected to the club for a long, long time. Hopefully as manager for as long as possible, but I just don't think we will see the end of him when he does eventually decide to leave. So
2024, Veranda Cheese says there'll always be another. Yeah, there always is, and that's proven over years of certain different clubs. But at the moment, I look around world football and I say no, there's no. I think he's the best in the world, and I don't think anyone's close, and I mean that. And people will talk about Guardiola, and they'll talk about Simeone, and they'll talk about Nagelsmann, and whoever Tuchel, whoever they want. But given the circumstance that Jurgen Klopp comes into at Liverpool, and the state the club are in, and what he's done, I don't think anybody's close to him. And I'm not dissing any of those managers that I mentioned, but I just think 160 wins in 250 games in the Premier League after he arrived 7-8 games into the season, 2015 I think it was, or maybe 9 or 10. It's just phenomenal, and the squad he had and what he's done with it, I just think is unbelievable. Keith,
a lot of them defeats are top loaded at the start of his time as well.
34 defeats I think he has.
Do you remember he had the shite with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? He'd compare his record in his first so many games to Jurgen Klopp's. So when you consider his record over the last 3-4 seasons, it's fucking phenomenal. That's why him and Pep and these two teams are the best in Premier League history.
I'll stay with you, Keith, because I'm on record. I think he's, footballing wise, he's the best manager we've seen since Paisley. I don't think he's the biggest influence on the club since Paisley. I think Kenny Dalglish is. But it's just a phenomenal record, Keith. And every time I look at it, I just think to myself, Fernandes is right. There's always another one. There's always a next one. But I don't want to see a next one, Keith. Do I have to start getting myself into a frame of mind here where you go, Gav, listen, you have 2 more seasons of this, and then it's over? Because I'm trying to read into every little bit of body language, everything he says, every word he puts out there. Does something change in him where he goes? I'm like in 2024, he's here 9 years. Does something change where he goes, fuck it? My family is happy, my kids are, I think, more or less grown up, or are grown up, and I'm happy here. And I love the city, and I love music, and I love football, and as I get older, I become more laid back, and I can enjoy a bit more. Is there any hope, Keith, for you? Because I'm desperate for him to come out and go, look, tell you what, boys, let's do another 3 on top of that 2 we already have.
I think the more you're hearing about it, there's sort of moments that he will stick around. I think he could do. I think a lot will depend on the landscape maybe of the league at that stage. Who buys Chelsea, for example? Are they bought by, someone that's just going to lash billions into them? Are Newcastle going to be a player at that stage? And is the juice worth the squeeze for Klopp at that stage? Because we all know Liverpool don't operate on them that scale. And people will jump in and say, they went out and bought Luis Diaz. They went out. We all know Liverpool do not operate in the transfer market the way others do. Klopp coaches, that's what makes him the best in the world, in my opinion. He takes these good players, excellent players, and makes them the best players. Pep Guardiola is a genius. Pep Guardiola is one of the greatest coaches of all time. But Pep Guardiola is one of these lunatics that overthinks everything and makes a balls of it. And he needs to spend 50 million on fullback. Doesn't work. Give me 50 million for another fullback until he gets perfection. And he chases perfection. Jurgen Klopp works on it and tries to create perfection. I think he stays. I think there's a chance he could stay, unless, as I said, he feels that it's not going, it's unsustainable the way he coaches, the way Liverpool operate to work. Do you know what I mean? That, you've got players rocking up at Newcastle for 70 and 80 million and 400 grand a week. And, it's just like, this isn't This isn't what Klopp is into. He's at Liverpool longer than he's been at any other team. You know, he's managed more games for Liverpool than he has any other team. I think the connection with Liverpool now is beyond his connection with Dortmund. It's beyond his connection with Mainz even. Well, I suppose Mainz is different. He plays there and then manages them for a long time. But, you know, that's a small team. This is a global team. This is a team. Every step he makes, he's looking for that emotional sort of attachment between club and fans. You know, he goes to Dortmund. They have a similar. Liverpool is that times 10. You know, despite what people are trying to say, Liverpool is that times 10. Where else can you go to get that? I don't know. International management, I don't think suits him. He's a day-to-day manager. He's not a once every 6 months merchant. So I can see a situation where he extends. You know, if things are going right and things are going well and he feels he needs to extend, I think he will. I wouldn't be surprised to see him staying on.
If the international thing doesn't suit him, because I agree with you. I think the thought of Jurgen Klopp turning up every 3 months to have a team for a week or 10 days, it's just not something that sits right with him, you know. And he likes the day to day. He likes to take everyone under his wing on a constant basis, and you know, build something. And you hear him talk about all the time how close the squad is, how we're all together, how we do this, that, and the other. Is there an argument that he turns around and goes, "Listen, I'm not into that, and I don't want to go back to Germany and manage because I could probably go back and do Bayern, someone like that." Or I don't think he's a massive fan of Bayern. Is there an argument, Kev, where he could just turn and go, "Right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to add 3 years to the 2 I have now, and when that's done, I'm done. I'm out of here. Good luck. Football is gone." He might do the odd piece at a Euros or a World Cup or a Champions League coverage where he can just show up in different cities and do stuff and do his travelling that way, Kev, because I'd love him to make that decision where Liverpool's my last job and I will. 2 years is not enough.
I think it's one of those things that, I mean, the thing is, we saw Klopp coming. When he was at Dortmund, you knew he was special. You knew what he was doing there was special because we watched Dortmund. We watched what he was producing. We watched the players he was producing as well. And there's no one else in world football doing that. You know, that's a scary thing. You know, there's a handful of good managers out there, but there's nobody that you look at and you think, yeah, you know, watch this guy. Will he stay? I think if Pep Linders takes on a bigger role, maybe if you see him taking more control like he does in the League Cup, maybe does the same thing now in the FA Cup. You can imagine the stress that managing a club at Liverpool, competing against Man City, year in, year out, knowing that you have to strive for perfection. You can imagine the toll that takes on you. You know, physically, mentally, it's massive. And you always hear like these managers, they have a shelf life, you know, before the same voice starts wearing, engaging on players. And for someone like Klopp, you might get away with it for a long time, but usually that's what turns clubs over. You saw with Bielsa and Leeds. You know, the players absolutely loved him, but hearing the same voice over and over and over again, telling you the same stuff over and over and over again, it falls apart eventually.
Is this squad though? Is this squad, Kev, ripe for? I get that. I completely get that because you do see it where a manager's there too long. Arsene Wenger is the case in point, in my opinion. Arsene Wenger, I've said it, I don't know how many times, should have left in around 2010 at Arsenal.
Yeah, he stayed 10 years too long.
He was there. I think he leaves in 2018, and he's there way too long because he's trying to do way too much under huge restrictions because of a stadium. And listen, you keep saying something to somebody, in the end, you just go, "Fuck off, annoy me, will you?" And that's how it works. But Kev, is this squad ripe for transition? New players, Luis Diaz being the start of it, Bellingham's being linked. You know, the sort of way where you start bringing in maybe 2 or 3 in the summer, and then you see another 2 or 3 next year, and before you know it, he's sitting on 6 or 7 brand new players, right, going into what would potentially be his last season. That's where it makes it new, Kev. That's where he's talking to new people. You know, the sort of
I get that, but I think that kind of a decision would need to be made before this summer. Because if I'm Jude Bellingham, I want to come and work for Jurgen Klopp, but not for Jurgen Klopp that's going to be gone in 2 years' time. You know, and if you want to sign these players and start turning over this squad, which eventually will have to happen, the caliber of players that we're going to want to bring in are going to want to know, is the manager going to be there for the foreseeable?
Yeah.
And that could be a big factor in being able to get these players. Now, they were able to convince Diaz because, look, Klopp has got 2.5 years left in his contract. Diaz is 24 years of age. It made sense. But if you're getting down to Klopp, with 12 months left in his contract on the summer, and you're going to look for players in the transfer window, that could become very difficult. I hope a decision is made. It's ridiculous that it's being asked 2 years out. But I suppose that's just the status of the man, isn't it? He's just that kind of character that he is almost irreplaceable because there's nobody like him. And I think Pep Lijnders, I think the boot room Mark II, what they were calling it apparently, that could be a case that's what they've created. And you've got Lijnders and the coaching staff. You never know. I mean, he's had one stint at management already that failed. But at the same time, it could turn around that bit of experience and the extra time he's had now to work with this squad, because apparently he's really influential with the coaching.
Yeah, I think that wouldn't put me off Pep Lijnders, the fact that he's had a managerial stint, because I think this club is tailor-made for him, and I think he's being part of the making of it. So he's not walking into something cold. He'd be walking into something if it happens.
The other side of it then really with Klopp is burnout. 9 years is a long time, especially at a top end job. And like I said, if Lijnders can take over the mantle and shoulder some more of the responsibility of, just being a more involved number two, almost like a manager or a coach, a head coach, and Klopp is like an overall manager.
Yeah, but Klopp speaks about that
towards the end of his career, didn't he?
Yeah, but Klopp
towards the end of his career.
Yeah, but Klopp speaks about that where he says, I'm an okay manager. My team around me make me quite a good manager. And I think the emphasis, and I don't think he says it just for sound bites and to pat people on the head. I think he actually has a team around him where he goes, I make the final decision, but literally 100% of the information comes to me from all these people where, and then I make the decision. So it's not like it's all on top of him 24 hours a day and nobody's taken or given any sort of input. That's what burns a manager out. When you're standing in your kitchen with the salt and pepper and you're trying to make up formations at 4 a.m, that's where you're born out. That's absolutely where you're born out.
The only thing about the burnout thing before we move off that, people say, Dortmund, he burnt out. He was never able to get a sustainable, to be the top dog in Germany with Dortmund against Bayern. The fact that he won 2 league titles and won a cup there against Bayern and gets beaten in the Champions League final, and every year has his best players taken from Bayern. I think that was as far as he could go with them. I think, what Kev says, if you can take a lot of the burden and the pressure off him, I don't think you can compare this Dortmund stint with Liverpool, because I think it's a totally different scenario. I think people think he's the connection with Dortmund. Someone said, I can't remember who was in the chat, if it wasn't, he'd still be at Dortmund. I don't believe that. I think, this is his pursuit to the top, and he's getting a Liverpool job that he's brought to the top. He's got into the Champions League, 2 Champions League finals. He's won a league title. He's won a league cup, World Club Cup, all this stuff, and now he's building it again and pushing it again. I think that in itself is what will spur him on. If we can stay top, and if we can, not necessarily topple Man City or knock them off, because they're not going to go away anywhere. But if he can go toe-to-toe with them and get his fair share of the pie, I think that keeps him reinvigorated. I don't think he looks at that and says, I need to go somewhere else. And as for international management, the more I think about it, the less likely I can see. He needs players that will run through the wall for him. And getting players every few months for a week or two, and then sending them back to their no-mark managers, I don't think that suits him at all. So the more I think about it, I think he's going to end up staying on.
Okay, I'm holding you to it, to be quite honest with you. Yeah. I'm holding you to it, if that's all right.
We said it.
I was going to say, do you imagine that maybe like last season with all of the injuries and the pandemic, that's kind of eaten away into his time. So I think he signed the deal in 2019, extended it to 2024. But there's been the pandemic and the injuries of last season, I think, have maybe kind of taken time away from him, if you will, and he may look to try and get that time back.
unfinished business.
He could
type
do,
of
Yeah.
but if he goes
Yeah.
and wins 4 trophies this season, he could go, listen, I've got everything.
Good
all
luck,
in one
I'm
go,
gone.
and I'm gone. And listen, would you deny me? No. Would you be? I'd be
No.
absolutely gutted, but I turn around and go, in fairness, you know,
Yeah.
he's won the fucking lot.
you wanna do,
Like,
like?
where are you going from here? But he's so driven, and it looks like the squad staff are so driven that even when they win one, they want something else, and that's where you want to be. That you turn around and go, we won the lot. Do you want to have another go at it? Let's have another go and find the fun. Antico says some sad news coming out tonight.
just seen.
Louis van Gaal has been diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer. Louis van Gaal, of course, is a Dutch legend when it comes to managers. Former Manchester United manager as well. That's really sad.
Yeah.
I don't know how aggressive that is. You know, is it terminal? I'm not too sure, so I don't really want to comment too much. But if there's a possibility of recovery from that, we wish Louis van Gaal
Fingers
all the
crossed,
best
yeah.
from me, Kev, Emmett, Keith, and everyone at the LFC Daytrippers.
100%.
We wish him the very best of luck in his recovery. So I just wanted to say that. Want to throw something in here about our VPN offer with IP Vanish. All right. So just a little bit on IP VPNs. VPNs protect you when you're surfing the internet. So using stuff like incognito doesn't actually protect your privacy. Without added security, you might as well be giving your private data to hackers, advertisers, your ISP and other prying eyes, right? IP Vanish make it easy to stay private and secure on the internet, okay? They helps you browse the internet, encrypting 100% of your data. It's really, really good. So you can protect your private details, passwords, communications, browsing history, all that sort of stuff. You can use it across all sorts of devices, computers, tablets, phones, Fire sticks, streaming media, wherever. You can use it wherever you need to go on multiple devices, okay? They are offering something to our viewers and our listeners, basically 70% off their yearly plan, okay? And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's basically you're getting nine months free. Some of these range from, I've seen them, $10 to $15 a month. At the moment, where IP Vanish, I think it works out about $3.20 per month. So what you do is really easy. You go to www.ipvanish.com/daytrippers. You will go in there. As soon as you go in, you will see the offer up in front of you. You sign up, you get your login, and you can use your VPN, as I said, across all your devices, and you can, protect yourself whether you're on Fire sticks, phones, tablets, PCs, anything you want. So go and check it out, IP Vanish. Benfica on Tuesday. They're beaten by Braga, I think.
Yeah.
3-2.
Yeah. They're beaten by Braga. Home or away?
Away.
Away
Away,
to Braga.
yeah.
3-2 loss. Okay. We go into that away, first leg. I know a couple of people going over to Lisbon. I hope they have an absolute cracking time when they're over there. They know who they are, and if they will be watching. So make sure you have a great time and bring home a result. But Keith, when this draw comes out, we're really happy with it. I think they have some good players. Don't get me wrong. I think they have some good players. I think they played really well in this tournament. I think they surprised a lot when they knocked out Ajax in the last round. What's your feeling going into this? Because Kev said something earlier where he goes, this squad's going to be used. This squad is going to be, you're going to see 3 or 4 changes. Is that what you expect from the match on Saturday to Tuesday? You will see 4 or 5 changes and you're absolutely comfortable with it and we have enough to go through?
Yeah, I'd like to think we're not going to go into this period of games and flog the same players. Do you know what I mean? I think we have to be smart with it. I think there's, we've got a centre back there in Ibrahim Konate who can ably come in if we need to rest someone in and out. And the same with the likes of Tsimikas. And we've seen Curtis Jones start the game yesterday. Naby Keita can come in. All these options. And that's without getting to the front three. And I think that's where, Luis Diaz was an electric, like a spark to our team when he came in, and he sort of hasn't featured as much in the last few games, maybe as prominently. And I think that's clever. It's sort of put him in, take him out, get used to it. I think he's going to play against Benfica, and I think he's going to cause them awful fucking trouble because I'd say he's familiar, obviously, with them, having come just from Liga Nosh, if that's what it's still called. Someone can correct me on that one. And I think he could be the game changer. He could be the difference there. Benfica are a good team. They've got Darwin Núñez up front, the Uruguayan centre forward. He's brilliant. I think he's absolutely
Few mentioned
excellent.
there. Anthony O'Chill says, keep an eye on him. Is he?
He's
I've
brilliant.
Never
He's
seen him
only
play.
22. He's dead.
Never seen him
so
play.
he's quality. And we've Rafa Silva on the wing. Rafa Silva seems like he's been around for years. He's only 27 or something. He's a great player. But they have Nicolas Otamendi. I'm actually a fan of him. I think he's good. But he's rash,
That's where
he's
you fall
slow.
down.
He was good a decade ago.
He was good at the Copa there last year, so he's back in the good books, you know. But he's rash. We all know what Otamendi brings to the table, and they've got Vertonghen there. You know, it's players that we're familiar with that we wouldn't have been afraid of 5 years ago. So I don't think we're going to be afraid of now. Adel Taarabt plays in the holding midfield for them now. I don't think he's been playing. I think he might miss out. Yeah,
Adel Taarabt hanging around as a DM for Benfica.
Centre mid.
Oh my God, I'm actually liking these the more and more I hear.
But I don't think he played, but I don't think he's played the last few games, so he could miss out. Benfica have some good players. They're always a good team. Portugal, you know, always produce decent footballers, decent teams. I think we're going to have too much for this, and I think hopefully we can make not wholesale changes, because let's not treat them with disrespect. Let's treat it with the respect it deserves. But I think you can look at, you know, making 3 changes for this game from the weekend, having a very strong team, doing the business, and then bringing back in for the City game players that might get the rest. You know, I think of Matip all the time. Look, we have this fear of Joe Matip breaking down. He hasn't been breaking down. He's been absolutely brilliant. I think let's use the squad as much as we can and sort of maneuver our way through these April fixtures and see where we are at the end of it, you know.
Yeah. Kev?
Yeah, there's a couple of other players as well. Grimaldo has been around a while. Weigl is one they brought in a couple of years ago from Dortmund, I think.
Yeah, he was the hot shit for years, and then he went off the boil and ended up there, and it was a surprising move. But
that was a weird one. Yeah, their striker Yaremchuk. He's a Ukrainian, big, strong, powerful. Yeah, he's a big lump, and you'd have him and probably you'd have Everton and Núñez playing around him. Everton we came up against in the World Club Cup a couple of years ago. João Mario used to be at West Ham. He plays in midfield as well. He scored the other night. But I expect probably 3 or 4 changes, and you'd hope look. Ideally, you'd love to wrap the tie up away, and you could
not very often you do, Kev. We've seen us do it against Porto, I think, or you know, in different stages. But quarterfinals,
Porto are a much better side than what Benfica are.
You believe so?
Yeah, what the league doesn't lie. The table doesn't lie. Yeah, Benfica are 3rd in the table. Sporting 2nd, and Porto are top, and it's not close. They poxed their way through their group, and they were lucky against Ajax to get through in the second leg. I mean, they played really, really above themselves to get through against Ajax. I mean, look, their record in the last 6 games of the Champions League, they beat Ajax. They have a draw, a win, a draw, and 2 losses. You know, in the Champions League in their last 6 games. They're a decent side, but they were the pick of the draw. They were the one side in that draw that if you could handpick, they were the ones you wanted, and you wanted them away first. You know, so there's no excuses for us. You know, we can still. If the 11 that I've written down here turns up and plays well on the night, we'll rattle 3. We should rattle 3 or 4, and I don't think they have anything. You know, as long as we're careful with Núñez, they don't have that much threats. You know, the goals they scored at the weekend were, I think they scored a penalty, they scored from a set piece, and João Mario got a goal as well. You know, João Mario got a goal and they got one from a penalty, I think. It was nothing dramatic anyway. There was nothing in the highlights that I watched that would worry you in any way. You will face a lot better, stiffer tests and a lot stiffer challenges in the Premier League.
Okay.
You genuinely do.
Okay. Emma, something's come up in the chat there, and I think it's a great point, and I'm trying to find. Here we go. Sam says we just have to be clinical in this type of game. How important is that? Because when Liverpool go away in Europe or at home in Europe or against anyone for that matter, we always get chances. And if you're telling me that Vertonghen and Otamendi are at the back, and Adel Taarabt, barring injury, will be playing in the DM for Benfica, we're getting fucking chances, Emmett. And I think, they have a couple of players like the lads I've mentioned there going forward that are good. All right, I'm not pretending to know them. The lads are telling you that they're good. All right, because I will never lie to people and tell you I watched loads of fucking Benfica, because I don't. Not many people do. Clinical is key, Emma. You get chances, you put them away, and I know it's very simplistic, but if you get an early chance and you put it away, it blows their bubble, it bursts it very, very quickly, and then you can go and rack 3 and 4. If we come away 2-1, fine. But clinical is very important here, Emma, because we're definitely getting chances.
Well, I'm exactly the same. I didn't even give Benfica a second thought in the Champions League, and then they went and knocked the Ajax out, and that's when they got your attention. I didn't know any of their players. I went and had a look. I know Otamendi, Vertonghen, and Taarabt, but I don't know any of the others, so I'm still none the wiser. So we'll have to go by what Keith and Kev says. But yeah, definitely, I think Keith's right. You don't want to be seeing wholesale changes, but maybe 3 or 4. 3, maybe 4. But when the chances come, you definitely need to be taking their chances. Put them to bed, and then use, I think it was Kevin Ball put in there as well, good point, 5 subs. Then you start putting your eye on the game on Sunday against City. So get in, get your goals, and get out of there.
Yeah, listen, that's absolute perfect scenario. You get in there, you be clinical, you take your 2 or 3 chances, and you manage them, because they are going to create. If by what Keith and Kev are saying, with the players that they have, their biggest strength is probably chance creation. And for me, just hearing them names at the back, I'm looking at Salah, I'm looking at Mane, Diaz, Jota, and for me, you know what I'm saying? Lads, he's 100% getting chances. Like Otamendi, I'd say, is having fucking nightmares about having to come up against these boys again. Like, he pissed off the Portugal, and they're still following him around. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous.
I think somebody said the pair of them had a stinker against Braga the weekend.
Yeah, I actually like Vertonghen, but I thought his best position for Spurs was left back. He fucking used to fly up and down the wing, left back for Spurs. But look, tell you what. It's Sunday night. The game's on Tuesday. We're going to do winners and losers tomorrow night. On Tuesday at 2 o'clock, I'm going to preview this game a little bit, and I'm going to do lineup predictions and score predictions. But I'll let you boys do, because you won't be there on Tuesday. So, name me an 11 for Liverpool, and name me a score. You have to name the scorers, of course, and then we get on to something else. Kev, I'll let you go first, because I know you've written down an 11.
Yeah.
Keith's looking at me going, "Don't fucking come to me. Don't fucking come to me." Go on, Kev.
With Alisson and goal, Trent, Kanate, Virgil, Robbo, Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, with Mane on the right, Jota through the middle, and Diaz on the left.
Okay. Score prediction?
3-0.
Okay. Scores?
3-0. Jota 2 and Diaz.
Okay. Emma, you had a pen and paper there, so you let me know.
Yeah, I dropped it. I'll just go off the cuff. So Alisson, Trent, Kanate, Van Dijk. It's probably going to be very similar to Kev's. I think he might put Tsimikas in.
Okay.
Fabinho, Hendo, Thiago. I think he'll play Salah again. Bobby and Diaz.
Okay. Score?
4-0. We'll go. I said Salah will get 2 the weekend, so he'll make up for it on Tuesday. So 2. Bobby 1, Diaz 1.
Okay. Keith?
I think it's Alisson in goal. After that, I don't know. I think Robbo will play left back. I think Gomez could play right back. I wouldn't be surprised if he holds Trent back with City in mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of rushing him. I think it'll be Matip and Virgil, even though I would probably go Kanate, but I think it'll be the same back 5 essentially.
5 days to City then.
Yeah. I just think, he won't rush Trent, or he might give him, 35 subs is going to be the key on this, I'd say. I think the midfield will be, I think it'll be Fabinho, Thiago. Is Naby injured?
Had a knock,
He's not.
came back, felt the knock again. Not too sure.
Is he available? If he's available, I think he plays him.
Okay.
If not, I think he plays Henderson. I thought Henderson was shite the other day, by the way. I thought he was brutal. But, you know, he's ever present. He's always there, does the business for us. I wouldn't be surprised. But I think he might look, if he can play Naby there, I think he might look to hold Henderson back, because it's another one where you don't want to flog these players too much. Up front, I think it's going to be Salah, Diaz, and Jota. Again, I think Bobby was excellent against Watford. His hold-up play, his link-up play is just... I'm a huge Bobby Firmino fan. I think he's brilliant. I overlook the lack of goals for how he makes the team play, and I think he plays against Man City. So I think it'll be Salah, Jota, and Diaz up front.
Okay. Score.
And that's not even mentioning Mane. I think we'll hump them. I think I'm on Emmett's lines there with 4-0. I think Salah has to get a bleeding goal at some stage. So I'll give him one. I think Fabinho will score. I think Virgil will score. And I think Minamino will come off the bench and score, because I always predict Minamino to get a goal. So that's where I'm going with.
Okay, fair enough. As I said, we will do a preview of that game on Tuesday, and we will be back on Tuesday night with Full Time Reds as well. Just quickly, me and Kev have had discussions over this, both, you know, 1-to-1 and Twitter and discussing it. I'll give you this one, Emma. I'll give it to you before we move on. The 5 subs, we're going to see it on Tuesday night. It's a big thing, because every time we talk about European games, somebody in the chat, I think it was Kevin Ball, said 5 subs would be great. It is great and will be helpful. It's coming in the Premier League next season. Can you see any argument as to why it shouldn't?
I can't, because I'm a Liverpool fan, but I'm sure plenty of the lesser teams, or the teams that are actually voting against it, will put up a decent argument against it. They keep arguing this bigger squads, and all the while, or all through it, it's player welfare. There's more games. I know these clubs won't be playing in the Champions League, but clubs are going to be playing more games in the Champions League. You've got your League Cup, you've got your League, you've got your FA Cup, you've the World Cup right smack bang in the middle of the season, next season. So I would imagine it's player welfare more than to assist teams with bigger squads. I don't see an argument against it now, and I don't want to say small club mentality, but think of your players, you're gonna get to rest players. You're gonna get to make more substitutions. Players won't get fatigued. There'll be less injuries, less muscle injuries. You'll have players available. Like at one stage, who was it? Leicester. Leicester were pulling COVIDs all over the place because they had injuries and one lad had the sniffles. So like clubs like that are gonna be able to rotate a little bit more often and more in a game, which will give lads the rest. And which will see them fitter for longer.
Yeah. Jeremiah says if City and Liverpool can get 199 points with 3 subs, 5 won't change anything. Keith, Kev, anything quick on that?
Go on, Keith.
I'll jump in. Yeah, I was actually talking to a friend of mine there on Friday. He's a Leeds fan, and he's vehemently against 5 subs. He thinks it benefits the top teams, and he thinks that it takes away the ability of a manager to tactically change things. He thinks it's too easy for the Jurgen Klopp, for example, to make 4 changes in one go and then just say that he has no faith in the team he started with. Here's a new team, go for it. I disagree. I think
I would disagree vehemently to that, because I think it's going to actually expose some managers to actually how much they rate their players, and I don't think they rate them that much.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's typical.
And Leeds have a fucking cheat, by the way.
I know, yeah. I said
down to the bare bones, and we can only bring this fella on, we can only bring that fella on. Leeds would have benefited from 5 subs because they wouldn't be burning out players week after week when everything was going on. I'm not going to say it, and I'm leaving myself out with this. Go on, Keith.
It's a hard one because people think this is just to benefit the top teams. It's not. I mean, I've said this numerous times on shows. It's the English Premier League mentality. The FA, we're pioneers. We're always right. We've seen it with VAR. We've seen it with changing transfer windows. They're not in tune with the rest of the world. Every other major league is doing 5 subs. It's, the top teams will always be the top teams, more or less. As said there, Liverpool getting Jeremiah, I think said Liverpool and City getting 199 points. It's not going to really benefit them points-wise. But the likes of, even Everton or Burnley or the crap that are down the bottom, if they could make 5 changes, there's games when it could help them, see out a result that they're not seeing out, or give them that kick up the arse to get a result that they could. There's so many variables, and they're just blind to this, and they're so tunnel visioned.
No, it's an obsession with it's an obsession with other people. They should be looking, going, I get to make 5 subs now instead of 3. So it actually gives you more chance to tactically change and gives you more scope to change a game than 3. Do you know what I mean? Like Laszlo says there, 14 clubs must have voted for it. Absolutely did it. But I can guarantee you that 14, if it was 14, was probably 5, 8, 9 months ago. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
How many players of the bottom teams, says Jono, have been injured because they've been overplayed? I bet loads, but they won't say it because it would make Klopp's point. Kev, anything on this before we move?
The science backs 5 subs. You look at every league that has 5 subs. You look at the number of injuries that those leagues have compared to the Premier League. The numbers are drastic when you look at the science of it. Then you look at the common sense of it. Leeds would be the one club that I'd hold up and say, look at the injury crisis you've had through burnout, through muscle injuries, where you were playing players over the red limit. Whereas if you could have played those players for 45 minutes, you could have got an hour out of some of those players instead of pushing them to get 90 minutes and then they pull up injured. Look at Patrick Bamford. Patrick Bamford would have been the ideal player to be able to come back in, right, bring him in slowly, bring him in for 45 minutes, we can make a change. Bring him in for an hour, we can make a change in the next game. And then we blood them in slowly like that. Instead, they've left themselves in situations where halfway through a first half, someone goes down with a cramp. That means you can't make the change that you wanted to make to protect the player that you need to protect. He now has to play 90 minutes, and suddenly 10 minutes to go, he pulls up with a hamstring injury, and you're screwed. There is no logical sense for any club in the top flight, in any flight of professional football in this day and age, with the volume of football that's in the game now and is going to be expanded. Everyone wants their pound of flesh. But when it comes to the TV rights are only going to be there if the top stars are available to play. And if the top stars are injured all the time, the TV money goes down, which means the club revenue goes down, which means your ability to buy goes down. There is no logical argument anywhere in football against 5 subs. Anyone who says there is wrong.
Aidan wants to know, can we do a quick 40 minutes on everything before we go? We'll just stop it. 10 past 11. We will have a little word on it before we go.
He's there in the shit, isn't he?
Yeah, we thought we'd go quickly over the weekend before we finish. Mo Salah. We've tried to put we've put that many fucking pins in this. It's like we have a voodoo doll at this stage. But Mars come out over the weekend here that Mo Salah, it's been reported in 3 newspapers, although I think it's been written by the one journalist.
Same fella.
That I've never heard of. All right. And what I mean by that is I've probably heard of him, but Liverpool related stuff, never fucking heard of him. So it looks like this, I think his name is Richardson, I think is the second name.
Yeah.
Basically Richardson. Saying that Mo Salah is ready to lower his wage demands in order to sign a deal at Liverpool to keep him there for the rest of his career. Again, I haven't seen any direct quotes, or I presume there's a lot of we understand and we believe in
usually is, isn't
it? But Keith, go on, I'll start with you. Do you believe any of this? Because I'm genuinely at the stage now where I believe nobody when it comes to this. And I mean fucking nobody, right? Because nobody is telling you anything. Nothing. The only hard line that's come out of this is Jurgen Klopp made a comment. His agent threw a wobbler. He fed something to what looks like to a journalist. I'm not even going to name him, right? Because I fucking don't like naming him. And other than that, Keith, I'm genuinely believing nothing unless Liverpool come out and say Salah has signed a deal, or Salah or Liverpool come out and say won't be signing a new deal, leaving in the summer or leaving at the end of the contract. I'm literally at that stage, Keith, because it's actually fucking ridiculous now at this stage.
I think Shawnee Lawson said it, and I think, touching on something you said there, Rami Abbas hasn't come out and done a smiley face tweet yet. Do you know what I mean? So he hasn't poo-pooed it. So I think there might be...
Yeah, but Rami Abbas... would he have the
He generally only reacts to stuff that Klopp says.
Would he come out? Would he come out and do it something again, Keith? Even if this is true or not true, do you think he would come out and do
Rami
it again?
Abbas has previous for reacting to everything, but
yeah, I know, but not on the scale of what happened 2 weeks ago, Keith.
Yeah, but he does have previous. He only has one client. You know what I mean? He's not doing anything else. I think there's a bit in this, to be honest, because a lot are running with it. Do you know what I mean? Not the Liverpool patch journalists aren't maybe running with it.
Yeah, Sam says that the journalist John Richardson is sometimes on the LFC Press Box programme. Appears on the LFC TV channel quite a lot, says Hannah Kingsbury.
Yeah.
So may have solid... somebody says there. Oh, sorry, Sam says, so I think you have credible links.
Yeah, I think that could be something in it because... You know, obviously Sky Sports, you can't go with them, but they're all sort of reporting, we're hearing of, you know, Mo Salahs softening his cough about signing a new contract, and they can't all be going off one fella's story in all the papers. Do you know what I mean? I think there must be something somewhere leaking out that maybe Salah's tone has changed, you know, and look, if it has, we can flip-flop on this, you know what I mean? I'm of the opinion, and I'm still of the opinion whether Mo Salah signs a contract or not, that we shouldn't break the bank for Mo Salah. I just think if he does sign it, and it's a good news sort of shot in the arm, I'll take it once Mo Salah gets back to goal-scoring form. But I do think there's something in this, because it's not being shot down. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of being let run a bit.
Yeah, but Keith, I'd say Rami Abbas has probably been told somewhere to keep your fucking mouth shut.
Why? Because Rami Abbas has been
he's getting the other lads to deny.
Yeah, I know, but Rami Abbas has you know, been very cryptic. But the last thing he done was in response to Jurgen Klopp. And when you go down that road, you're pissing against the wind, Keith. Because not only will Jurgen Klopp not take that bullshit from you, like, Klopp is held up on the highest of high pedestals by Liverpool fans, and if you want to go against them with something on fucking Twitter, right, you're fighting a losing battle, Keith. And I would have a feeling. Listen, there could be something in this. I don't know. Let's see if we see John Richardson on LFC TV again. Then you'll know.
I'm thinking of a man off 8 out of 10 cats.
Yeah, so am I. Yeah, the fella that wears the cardigans.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if it's a case of, you know, radio silence from here on in, and that's why you haven't seen something shot down.
I think if you see something tomorrow from Rami before or after Klopp's press conference to get for the Benfica game, if you don't hear nothing, then it's a good sign. Because he's gonna get asked, he's definitely gonna get asked tomorrow, and he'll get asked by foreign journalists who don't normally cover Liverpool and who the Liverpool press officer can't control. So they're going to get asked these questions, and if he straight bats it like he normally would have done, and Rami comes out with nothing, then I think there's probably meat on the bones.
Yeah.
But tomorrow will be an interesting day to keep an eye on stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Emma, you know, I've just gone past, is there something in it, is there not something in it? Look, just tell me when the fucking news is good or not.
Yeah.
Look, I understand we do a podcast and this stuff come out, and we have to talk about them when something happens. But for me, it was just, I'm literally at the stage where I'm going, listen, there's so many people taking fucking swinging for the fences here in different ways, day on day. Is there anything in it for you? Are you along Keith's line where...
Yeah, no, I think I would be along Keith's line, but not for the reasons that you see. Some people are saying, "Oh, the bus went by his new mural. That's what's changed his changed his mind."
Okay.
Or he might have the talk of Klopp signing an extension. That might actually have got him to change his mind. I'm actually, as much as I share the posts into the Telegram group, and then you're shot down and said, "No, there's nothing in that. There's nothing in that." I'm actually getting a bit of a pain in the arse even talking about it, and I don't mean here. Obviously, we'll have a chat about it, but it is. I'm like you, Gav. Just tell me when it's done. At this stage now, it's too hard. Like you said, nobody knows other than the people that are close to it. So you have to take everything with a pinch of salt.
There's constant links to a Barcelona move, isn't there, for like 50 million? That's all out, and they're coming from dodgy reports.
But the thing is, like, if you look at what I would consider the most reliable journalist of them all when it comes to Liverpool, that's Paul Joyce. Joyce hasn't really changed what he said on it. And John, if this guy Richardson is on LFC TV fairly regular and he's coming out with something like that, I just don't know. There's something doesn't sit right with me on it. Just something doesn't sit right. And
how did it go from the Star to the Express to the Mirror to the
it's gone a bit mad. Jono reckons that he's been on LFC TV, so he must have some info from the club, maybe on clutching at straws, but that's not usually the route they go. Like John Richardson, I'm presuming, didn't turn up at LFC TV in the last 3 months. If he's been on LFC, and his name is actually starting to ring a bell with me now, to be honest with you, but he's probably on there 2 years. So why didn't he go down? If they were dropping something to him now, why weren't they dropping something to him 6 months ago on Henderson, or dropping something to him on... They don't seem to go down that route. They seem to get it done, and then when it's done and they're ready to announce it the next day, you'll find a couple of journalists will have something the night before on it. And then it's, build up an expectancy, and then bang, they throw it out there. Just doesn't feel... Something doesn't feel right. I'm not saying the man is wrong, but I'm telling the man I'm not really fucking interested until something happens, basically. That's me. But look, it'll rumble on. I think Kev's point is a good one. Watch the press conference tomorrow. Klopp will most definitely be asked about it. Let's see his response. If he comes out and says, listen, we told him that that's the offer, and him and his mate, they don't like it, they can piss off, then you'll know that he's telling the truth. If he came out and said something, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? But I'm with Keith as well. Get Salah signed, but you don't go beyond your means to do it. I think that's absolutely fine, and between the four of us, we're probably along them lines, I think. Barry Devaney says, Indy's announcing the extension, lads, just waiting for the go-ahead from his legal team. Indy Coyle is the fucking business. He's
the best account on Twitter with that.
I seen a great one that was retweeted. It was from a while ago, and it's literally a plate of food, and he's like, I just had a meeting with FSG there, and the Thai fuckers made me pay, and I wouldn't mind, they were the one who invited me down for dinner. Like, absolutely fantastic stuff.
Triggers everybody, doesn't he?
Yeah,
like, they all do be lashing them out about KFC and all.
Yeah,
doesn't give a shit.
No, it doesn't give a fuck. But before we go, overall the weekend, Chelsea, what the fuck, went up back four, and Rudiger forgot to use the defender. Man City won, along. Spurs win, United draw with Leicester, Everton are beaten again.
Big game for Arsenal tomorrow night.
Huge game for Arsenal, especially with Spurs winning. But overall, the week, we're back after the international break. Emma, I'll come to you first. What was the standout game for you?
Well, I only watched one. I only watched our one and stopped watching football. My own club lost this morning, so I was a bit put out. So I went down to Mandela and watched a few motorbikes instead. But I've only watched the one. Only watched our game. So our game.
What results stood out for you then, Emma?
Definitely Brentford against Chelsea.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Pulled them apart as well.
I actually saw the goals. I didn't watch any highlights or anything, but absolutely did. Some strike by Rudiger. I think it's their furthest out goal since 2007 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think Eriksen going in there is just pulling the strings. Like, do you know what I mean? It
seems to be that
I
great
think he
link,
scored.
doesn't
Did
he?
he score yesterday? He scored.
Yeah,
yesterday,
he scores, and
Yeah.
he's
scored twice for Denmark in the break.
yeah,
so,
and he's given Brentford kind of where their forwards looked a bit isolated at times. He's given them that extra little link now where there's a bit of quality between the actual hard working midfielders and the forwards that are really good. Like that fella Wissa seems to score every time he fucking steps the pitch.
Yeah.
Tony's been really good, and Eriksen just seems to be that one where I'll break in the box. You know, I'll hit a good pass, I'll hit a good cross, I'll get an assist, and he's not staying there at the end of the season. Like he's, you know, I think he's on a deal at the end of the season, and I'd have him at Liverpool tomorrow. I think he's fucking deadly. You know what I mean? But I can see him getting another move in the summer, and it's great to see from Christian Eriksen. Keith, do you want to talk about the F?
They're fucking brutal, aren't they?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I can't stand, not that I can't stand them. I just mean this current guys of Everton with the worst manager in the league,
Michael
that
Keane,
they all
super
fucking,
captain today.
Yeah, that they all clamoured for Frank Lampard. They deserve what they get. Michael Keane, absolute stocking of shite, and has been for a few years as well. This isn't a new development. They just have nothing. They're devoid of everything at the moment. They've got Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. They're all fucking muck. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what they got a good result against Newcastle, and only for the fact that everyone else, the Burnley and Watford, are shit. I still think everything can go down because the fixtures are playing brutal, and I didn't expect Burnley or Watford to get anything this weekend. Obviously, playing Liverpool.
If Everton lose to Burnley during the week, to go down.
Yeah,
I think they're in trouble there. I think they're in serious trouble. It's toxic, Gav. You know this. We all know that. It's a toxic club. It's a toxic fan base.
He went to 5 at the back today. Michael Keane is captain, and he gets fucking sent off.
Yeah. He's devoid of thoughts and ideas, that club are. The manager doesn't have a clue. Blame the players at every opportunity. It's awful. You know what I mean? And I was asked a question. I don't know, we spoke about it. Would you be happy with Everton to go down and lose the Merseyside derby? Fucking yes. Yes, I would. Wouldn't give a shit. Wouldn't care less. Don't know many Everton fans over here. Couldn't care less. Look, it's big in the city. It's big for Liverpool fans. It's huge. It was the friendly derby and all that stuff. Now, I'd happily see them go. Do you know what I mean? We've enough rivals now to get on. I can't see it being a Celtic Rangers type of thing if they go. And they'd be the exact same about us. Make no mistake about it. This isn't being disrespectful to Everton. They would be the exact. In fact, they'd be 10 times worse about us.
But Bill Kenwright's love child, Veranda Cheese, is in here saying, "Here we go again. Wrap up the show with a bit of hatred for Everton. Nearly getting as bad as Gav's anti-Arsenal rants." I'm not anti-Arsenal. That's that's a complete misconception that you have with regards to me and Arsenal. But anyway, I'll talk to you in a few minutes. We'll be on the Xbox in about 20 minutes. Kev.
Everton.
Can I ask you something, though,
shit,
Kev?
but go on, sorry.
Because I don't want to go too hard on despite what I've said to Veranda Cheese, I don't want to go too hard on Everton. We've looked at Brentford.
Yeah.
Top 4 though. Because that win for Spurs today, go for that goal difference, throws them in there, level on points.
2 games behind Arsenal. Arsenal have 2 games in hand.
Yeah. They've gone ahead of United. West Ham have won today. That top 4, when you see those games for Arsenal coming in there with Spurs, Chelsea and United, they still have to play. It's getting very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting.
Yeah, I think 4th to 7th is a 3-point gap. And it's just the amount of games played. And they all have to play each other. I think Arsenal, Spurs have to play. I think United have to play one of them as well. And United have to play us. Spurs have to play us. So it's credit where it's due. Spurs are playing well at the minute. And they're chalking up wins. But then again, they're wins against sides who they're supposed to beat. They're in a good run of form, but they're beating sides who they're supposed to beat, which is all you can do, I suppose. They were clinical today. Newcastle were atrocious. They were shockingly bad, but that's to be expected. Their position that they're in is a fair reflection of where the club is at the minute. They're not a relegation side. They're lower half of the table side, and that's the true reflection of where they are. Arsenal Crystal Palace tomorrow night is going to be one of those games.
Who's at home?
That I think I'll go out of my way to watch.
Is it Crystal Palace at home?
Yeah, it's Crystal Palace at home.
Yeah, I might watch that.
I really want to watch. I really want to watch that because I think that could be an absolute belter. I know Palace have got a few players missing. I think Olise and Zaha might be out.
Right.
But they still have Eze to come in. They have Edouard to play. They can cause Arsenal all kinds of problems. But at the same time, now that the pressure's on, this is the game that Arsenal have to win.
Yeah.
We'll see how they handle it.
Yeah. And
Spurs have the firepower, don't they, now, out of them all? They have the goals in them, but they also have added steel into their team with Bentancur and Cuti Romero, and I think Spurs have too much for them. I think I picked Arsenal last week in a bit of a bleeding moment of madness. I've said Spurs all along because I think Conte has the know-how to get them in there. I think Spurs will pick
they have
them
goals
up.
off the bench as well. Bergwijn is coming off the bench, and he's a proper pace merchant, and he loves a goal.
I think so someone says there. Sam says scenes when Chelsea finish 5th. I think there's a chance Chelsea get dragged into something here. I said a couple of weeks ago and then talked myself out of it. But I have a feeling they might get dragged into something. I really, really do.
Tommy Tuchel plays 4 at the back. He'd definitely be dragged into it because it just shows something we've said all along. Tuchel went in there, found this formation, this defensive, ultra defensive, solid formation, and as soon as he moved away from it, they get absolutely tore apart at home to Brentford.
Well, look, an hour and a half. We've done very, very well. It's been a really good show. We've covered loads and loads and loads. Tomorrow, should have Cop update all week this week. I don't have any plans or any fucking other work to do, so I'm going to try to get them out at 2 o'clock. Trust me, when I don't get them out, it's because I'm not sitting on my arse. I'm off fucking getting called for something else. But hopefully get them out at 2 o'clock every day this week. The one on Tuesday in particular will be a bit of a preview. I might try to get a guest on, have a look at Benfica, do some lineup, do some score predictions and stuff like that. Winners and losers will be on tomorrow night. Full-time Reds Tuesday after the game. Midweek fix on Wednesday. We'll be off on Thursday. We'll be back on Friday with Sports Unplugged, and then we'll be back into the weekend again. Liverpool play City on the Sunday at 4:30, don't they? So we won't have a full-time Reds. We'll be going straight into the Fatback 4 from 10 p.m. Or we might do a little 50. We might get 2 lads to do a little 15 minutes after that. We'll see how it goes. Emma, anything else before we go?
No, 1 down, 7, possibly 8 to go in April. Okay. So next up, Benfica. Let's smash them. Kev,
anything else before we go?
No, all good. Fair play to Watford for the win they had on Saturday night, bastards. And Kerry won today, beat Mayo, I think. But
battered
them. Masters on this week, Gav. You ready for the Masters?
Yeah, I'm ready for the Masters. Best golf tournament of the year. Pisses all over the Open and the other ones.
Best course of the lot by a distance.
Well, it's the best course of the lot when you play it at this time of year because it's fast. When they done it in November one year because of COVID, it was atrocious because it was soft and they could just hit it at targets, whereas this is completely different. Biggest fatback 4 of the season next Sunday, says Sam Tandy, possibly. Veranda Cheese shot a 67 in the monthly medal today. Veranda Cheese, just to let you know, tells me he doesn't like golf anymore, not really in the humour of playing it, and then fucking goes out and does that. So again,
shit is 67.
He shit is 67 in the monthly medal. If he's done that, I don't know. They may revoke his membership, but I'm presuming he means shot. Keith, would you like to sing us out with some Alanis Morissette or something like that, or have you anything else before we go?
Nothing else before. I love Alanis Morissette. Yeah. Do you know what? I do love Alanis Morissette. Jagged Little Pill, great album.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic album.
You ought to know it's such an angry song, and it never gets the credit it deserves. Fucking brilliant. Anyone that hasn't listened to Alanis Morissette in a while, put on You Ought to Know and enjoy it. An angry woman.
Morissette. Anyone that hasn't heard of her before, she's lethal.
Brilliant.
Presumably have heard of her though.
She's no ELO. Should know ELO, but you know, if anyone doesn't know ELO, get on ELO.
ELO are
great.
lethal. If you haven't heard of ELO, Electric Light
Oh my
Orchestra,
God.
absolutely unbelievable.
If you haven't heard of ELO, I feel like a right old bastard.
Wave.
Oh,
yeah.
Telephone is what a fucking song Telephone is.
Yeah,
And the intro to it is just
Brilliant.
fucking
Brilliant.
fantastic. Owen Bork reckons Joe Walsh will be down on Woody's buying wheelbarrows today, obviously for the Masters. Joe Walsh, top tipster.
sponsored by wheelbarrows.
But no, Joe Walsh he leases wheelbarrows. He doesn't buy them. He leases them. He's just down. You know when you're outside the shop and you see parking spaces outside some Paddy Powers in Dublin, there are spaces for wheelbarrows for when Joe shows up after a major golf tournament. So there you go. Brandon Shea says, tell us about the time you see in Brentford. Keith, no, we're not doing it again.
Did we ever tell you about that?
Red Steve says Keith loves an angry woman. Laszlo says sold 14 million copies. Jagged Little Pill.
Yeah.
I would have thought it was more than that. It's absolutely brilliant. Brandon Cheese has thrown another comment in there that I can't read out, but everyone can see it and you can have a little chuckle if you want. That has been the Fatback 4. Thanks a million to Kev, Emmett, Keith. Thanks a million for joining us. Check the link in the description for IP Vanish. Check the link in the description, please, for Féileacáin. If you can help, please do so. If you can't, with regards to a donation, take the link, send it to everyone you know. And if you want to do some sort of fundraising thing, feel free to. Let us know. We'll back you up. And we might even help you out with it as well. I mean, if you're doing something mad, I might just tell one of the lads they have to do it as well. And they're going to have to do it. It's for fucking charity. You know, Keith was willing to throw himself in canals last year. I'm sure we could find something for him. Couldn't we, Keith?
No comment.
Pleading the fifth. He's looking for his lawyer now.
Yeah.
That's it. That's been the Fatback 4. Over now.